Welcome back to Book Talk with Tracy. This is the third and final segment about my book, Keeping Up with the Neighbours, and it's a contemporary Christian romance. So I talked last time about the six main characters, the siblings, Jed, Zeb, Bo, Will, Reba, and Pip Malloy, who are originally from Newfoundland, and they each have their own episode, if you will, in the book. And then we come to the final episode. And originally, this episode was called Neighborhood Rap, and it was quite long. Like, it was divided into scenes, but, you know, it's a little too long for a chapter for sure. And so when I refreshed the book with the new cover, I decided I was going to divide it up so it was a little bit easier to navigate, I suppose, that portion. So it ended up being divided into quite a number of segments, and each one, it's a shorter segment focusing on one of those six characters, but kind of, you know, wrapping up their story or bringing all those various storylines together for the final scene. And we have such names as Neighborhood Ruckus, Neighborhood Heartache, Neighborhood Games, Neighborhood Quest, Neighborhood Nor'Wester, Neighborhood Surprise, Neighborhood Wishes, Neighborhood Conscience, Neighborhood Changes, Neighborhood Whirlpool, Neighborhood Turnaround, Neighborhood Tightrope, Neighborhood Fireworks, and finally, Neighborhood Rap, which takes place at a wedding. So if you've read the first book, and you don't have to read Neighbours 1 in order to enjoy this one, but if you did read the first book, Lester Tibbet and Sherry Chan are going to get married, and so this final episode, Neighborhood Rap, takes place at their wedding. And there we see all the Malloys are there, and with their various love interests, or people they hope to be their love interests, and it just kind of wraps up nicely. There is certainly a fair bit of humor in this book because, as I did mention, I just find that people from Newfoundland seem to have a really great sense of humor. They don't always take themselves too seriously. And it's almost a cultural thing. Like, you know, they enjoy a good laugh. They enjoy having a good time. And I hope that's the flavor that I brought to this book. You know, I don't want to be stereotypic in any way, but I just was really inspired because a lot of the people that I know who are from Newfoundland, I just love them. Like, they really are larger than life characters. Jed Malloy first came to life in NEIGHBOURS Series 1 as a minor character who just wouldn't go away. So I'm actually reading from the foreword here. Even though he had a small part to play in the first series, he made his mark with his quirky ways and his down-home manners. He soon became one of my favorites, and apparently yours too, if reader feedback means anything. I knew I needed to continue the series and make Jed's large family the star. As I began to write, I discovered that every member of Jed's family was just as unforgettable as he was, each in his or her own way. It's been a fun ride getting to know these folks better. In the end, it was even more special for me to see some of them come to know Jesus as their Savior. Welcome to the neighborhood. So, for me, that was also a really important part of the series, to make sure that, you know, there was that redemptive side to things, that, you know, and at the end of the day, really that is the most important thing, isn't it? So I hope that you enjoy both of these books, both the Neighbours one book and this one. I have some books back here on my shelf. So there's the first book, Neighbours 1, which focuses on several other characters that moved to Calgary, Lester Tibbet and others who meet in this apartment building. And then, of course, Jed, who appears in that book, and his family come in the second book. Super fun to write. I've thought about extending the series because a lot of characters appear that are just a lot of fun, and I could imagine continuing the story, but I'm not sure I will do that. It's hard to say. It's almost like when you watch a really good movie or a really good series on TV, and then they bring out the second season and it's really good, and then they bring out the third season and it's almost as good, and then they continue on for seasons 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and somehow it kind of goes downhill. So I don't want that to happen. But you know, it feels in some ways like there were maybe some more things that needed to be said. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted. I'm not going to promise anything, but for sure, you can pick up a copy of this. It's, of course, an ebook. You can also get these in individual volumes. Like, you don't have to buy the full books. You can actually get them episode by episode on most platforms, certainly Kobo and Barnes & Noble and Apple Books and places like that, where you can buy them individually. And some people, I mean, that was originally the way it was published. And so some people enjoy that kind of thing, that sort of a serialized version rather than the longer version. But hey, it's whatever floats your boat. So that wraps up talking about the Neighbours series, and I hope that you will check it out. You can visit my website, tracykrause.com. There is no E in Tracy. There are 2 S's in Krause. I say that every time, but it's important when you have a name that can be spelled multiple ways. But when you go there, you can check out all kinds of things. You can find a link for these book talks. I talk about all kinds of things, including all my other books and plays. I have 30 plus titles out there.